everybody, John Coffey here, doing another movie review, this time for the Troma classic, Tromeo and Juliet. This is basically what the title suggests. It's a Troma retelling of Romeo and Juliet. It was written by James Gunn, which if you don't know the name, you'll know his work, because he wrote the Dawn of the Dead remakes, which I will forgive him for, because I hate that movie, but it's okay. He wrote the Scooby-Doo movies, which, I mean, if you're a kid, they're cool. He wrote and directed Slither, which is a really good horror film, and he wrote and I believe directed a new film called Super, which I've not got to see yet, but I'm looking forward to checking it out. Seen this movie a long time ago, and I recently got to watch the Blu-ray, and I'll get to that, how the Blu-ray is here in a little bit. To give us the quick rundown of the storyline, because I'm sure everybody knows the Romeo and Juliet story. Basically, you have Tromeo, who is of the Q family, and Juliet, who is of the Capulet family. The Capulet family and the Q family feud, and this one's because Tromeo's dad ran they say it's a movie company, but the whole show is just like software porn stuff, and he gets blackmailed by the Capulet, Capulet to make him sell the company. He sells the company to Capulet without any money. It's blackmailed into doing it, and a feud between them starts, and as Tromeo and Juliet's romance grows, the feud between the two families gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it all cascades in chaos at the end. This is, to be really honest, probably Troma's best work as a film company, because I know they've released on DVD a lot of really cool movies, but in-house stuff, this is probably their best. And I'm a huge fan of Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High and Terra Firma. I mean, all those movies are great. Troma War is one that not a lot of people talk about. That's a really good movie. I may review that in a little sometime down the road. And this is probably their best work. I mean, as a script, it's their best. I mean, James Gunn really wrote a good story. I know it's just, you know, Romeo and Juliet's story, but for a fan of horror who doesn't like reading Shakespeare, I mean, this is the perfect way to see it. I mean, there's the typical Troma stuff, goofiness, really bad special effects, really bad acting. Well, not all bad acting. There's some decent acting in this one. But what they did right is there are a lot of really just like very black humor in this movie. I think it's the most dark humored Troma film. I mean, except for maybe Terra Firma. I think Terra Firma is still more silly than this movie. And there's some serious moments, which is bizarre to see in a Troma film, and that leads to my only real complaint for this movie. I know they were going to make it feel like a Troma film, because that's what they do, but they could have held back on some of the silliness and really made a powerful movie. I mean, but it's Troma. I mean, what do you expect from them? The film actually stars two scream queens who would become pretty popular later, and one's Debbie Rochon, and a 16-year-old Tiffany Shepis. And if you don't know Tiffany Shepis, just go IMDb, or she's in a million movies. I'm sure you've seen one of her, and I've met her. She's super nice. And we'll be getting to meet her again in July, so that's going to be cool. She has a very small role in this movie. I think they only put her in there because she was hot, but she was jailbait, 16, so they couldn't put her in like any other role that had nudity or anything like that. Debbie Rochon gives a fantastic performance as the cook of the Capulet family. This movie's got all kinds of nasty, all kinds of craziness. You got lesbian sex, you got incest, you got, you know, suggestions of necrophilia, you got all kinds of madness going on. Just a typical Troma film. Probably Lloyd's best directing too, I'd say. Like, he actually really got some good performances. For 99% of the time, it's just woo over the top. And this, you know, the acting is over the top in this movie because your typical Troma film, which I know I've said 1,000 times now. The soundtrack is really cool because you got some cool 90s alternative music, and there wasn't a lot of horror films in the early 90s. So to get to see a movie that has kind of like grunge and 90s alternative rock, it's pretty cool. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the music, it's still, I wish there was more films like set in the 90s, you know, something like, even though it's not set in the 90s, or maybe it was, My Sweet Satan, I think it was set in the 90s. Has that same kind of look, same kind of vibe, you know, like gritty 90s look to it. I mean, I think it's, you know, a cool thing. Some people don't like it. Some people really hate grunge music, but I don't. And one of the really cool things for a fan of Motorhead Lemmy Kilmister is the narrator in the film, and he's actually in the movie for the first minute. He gives the opening dialogue that's almost directly from Shakespeare's work. And he narrates all, like, they separate him into acts. So he's like Act 1, he says what the name of it is. So, you know, it's cool. I mean, I think it's Troma's finest work as a movie. I mean, I love Troma. I love all this stuff. I was one of the few people that seemed to like Poltergeist. I mean, I heard a lot of really negative things about Poltergeist, but I love that movie. I thought it was silly and fun. What I think sets this one apart is James Gunn's writing. I think he did such a fantastic job writing the movie. Move on to the technical aspect of it, the Blu-ray. Not so good. Couldn't tell the difference between it and a DVD. I mean, it's just the way Troma works. I mean, the Troma way. So I mean, like, but there's some really good special features in the DVD. Like Tiffany Shepis has an interview on it, and she's a bit player. Like, if you don't pay attention, you're gonna miss her in the movie. She only has like 2 lines, I think, in the whole movie. She's in it, you know, you see her, but she doesn't have many speaking roles. But she gives such a good, heartfelt interview that you really feel like she loved working on this movie. And that's what it feels with all the people in the interviews. They all seem like they legitimately just really cared about this movie. And that's cool. But I'm going to say right here now, if all the interviews are on the Tromeo and Juliet DVD, then don't worry getting the Blu-ray. Just go cheap and get the DVD. Now, if they aren't on the DVD, then go with the Blu-ray because they're great. They're worth buying the Blu-ray itself. It's kind of weird to see legit special features on a Troma DVD. A lot of their stuff just is always just like the same tour of the Troma offices and stuff like that. But they've done really good here recently with like the releases of Citizen Toxie, Poltergeist, Combat Shock, all the Troma Masterpiece stuff. Now the Blu-rays of Tromeo and Juliet. I mean, they're stepping up their game with their special features, which is good to see because I have the original Troma's War DVD, and it's got like 2 or 3 interviews with the cast and the crew, and the rest of the stuff has nothing to do with the movie. Same thing with the Bloodsucking Freaks DVD. I mean, it's good to see them finally realizing their fans want to hear about the making of these movies. Well, I've rambled on enough about this movie. Check it out if you've not seen it. It's a fun movie. And keep checking back, and I'll keep doing videos. See y'all later.